you know, and they are pissed. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've seen through the illusion. You no longer bow blindly to the noise of the world. You're no longer distracted by the artificial dramas they create to keep you asleep, and that frightens them. Let me tell you a story once. When I was much younger in the monastery, I questioned the rituals we followed daily. Not out of rebellion, but out of a deep desire to understand. And one elder monk pulled me aside and said, when you start asking real questions, people will stop smiling. But don't let their frowns become your prison. That lesson never left me. Because the moment you begin to truly awaken, not just spiritually, but mentally, emotionally, people become uncomfortable. Not because you're wrong, but because you're right. And they haven't yet had the courage to look at their own reflection. You see, society is structured like a hall of mirrors, each one reflecting a distorted version of the truth. And when you stop playing the part, when you begin to see clearly, the system shakes. Because now, you're not reacting, you're responding with awareness. You're not angry, but you're no longer blind. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you've become distant, but the truth is, you've simply come closer to your true self. It's like waking up in a crowded theater. The lights come on, the movie ends, and you realize most people are still staring at the screen, unaware the story was never theirs to begin with. And when you stand up to leave, they glare at you. Why? Because your clarity threatens their comfort. But let me offer you this: never dim your light because others fear its brightness. The world has enough shadows. Your clarity is not arrogance. It is awareness. Your peace is not indifference. It is inner strength. Many of you are starting to see through the veil. You're realizing the job you hate isn't your purpose. The relationship that drains you isn't your destiny. The opinions of others aren't your compass. And this realization, this remembering, is your power. When I first stepped away from the noise of the world, I thought I would feel empty. But what I discovered in the silence was everything. Stillness revealed truths I never heard in the noise. Aloneness brought clarity I never found in the crowd. Silence introduced me to the voice of my soul, the one that was always whispering beneath the chaos. But let me be honest with you, the path of awakening is not always peaceful. Because clarity brings conflict, not within you, but from those around you. There's a saying we hold in the monastery: when you stop chasing, the world starts questioning. Because your stillness becomes a mirror, and not everyone is ready to face their own reflection. So what do? You walk forward, gently, with compassion, but with courage, with love, but with boundaries, with peace, but never pretending. You honor your truth, even if it offends those who live in lies. Remember, your growth will disturb those who fear their own stagnation. Your light will irritate those who have grown comfortable in the dark. But you are not here to please the shadows. You are here to awaken the light within. And if they're upset that you know, let them be. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is your soul. Now, breathe with me. The monk pauses, guiding the viewer into a brief moment of silence. Deep inhale, deep exhale. You're not crazy for questioning the path. You're not broken for feeling detached. You're just remembering who you are beneath the layers of noise. You've been asleep in someone else's dream long enough. Now, it's time to wake up in your own. And I'll walk with you, one breath, one truth, one moment at a time. Let this be your reminder: you are not alone in your awakening, and though it may feel lonely at times, you are deeply guided, fiercely protected, and eternally watched over. They know that you know. And yes, they are pissed, but your peace is more powerful than their pressure. So keep going. We have much more to uncover, much more to remember, much more to awaken. You're still here. Good. That tells me something. You're not afraid of the truth. Not anymore. You're ready to walk further, deeper. In the stillness of awakening, most people don't realize that awareness itself becomes the beginning of a new kind of responsibility. Because once you see, you can't unsee. Once you know, you can't unknow. And when the veil falls away, you begin to understand that your greatest battle is no longer external, it's internal. Let me tell you something that happened to me. Many years ago, during the early stages of my monkhood, there was an elder monk who spoke very little. He barely participated in the chanting, rarely gave advice. Many thought he was indifferent, even cold. But one night, as I was meditating under the Bodhi tree, I saw him sitting near the river. He was simply staring at the water. Hours passed. So I approached and asked, "What are you watching, master?" And he replied, "I am watching myself dissolve." I didn't understand at the time, but over the years, that simple phrase changed my life. You see, awakening is not about becoming someone new. It's about dissolving everything you are not: the ego, the fear, the need for validation, the stories others wrote for you. You begin to dissolve, so your soul can emerge. That's what frightens them, not your opinions or your silence, but your purity, because a soul that is unchained is impossible to control. And when you dissolve the illusions, you become untouchable. Now, this is where many seekers stumble. They awaken to a painful truth. They realize that not everyone wants them to evolve. Some love the old version of you, the agreeable one, the small one, the one who needed their approval, but you must remember not everyone who walks with you is meant to stay with you. There is no betrayal in outgrowing people. There is no shame in choosing solitude over shallow company. There is deep, sacred power in walking alone, if that's what it takes to walk in alignment. Because this journey, this sacred path you are on now, it requires sacrifice, not the dramatic kind, not a ritual or a grand act, but the quiet, invisible sacrifices no one sees, letting go of toxic comfort, choosing integrity over image, saying no without guilt, standing still when the world tells you to run. Each of these small moments shapes the architecture of your soul. Each one brings you closer to your core. You must protect your peace, not by fighting, not by arguing, but by mastering the art of detachment. Detachment is not rejection. It is not coldness. It is not running away. It is clarity. It is the sacred knowing that not everything deserves your energy. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every battle deserves your sword. When you detach from the chaos, you gain a superpower, perspective, and with that, you begin to respond instead of react. You begin to observe instead of absorb. You begin to choose instead of chase, and in that sacred stillness, you begin to build your inner temple, a temple no one can burn, a peace no one can steal, a clarity no one can distort. But I must warn you, there will be tests. They will provoke you. They will question your silence. They will try to pull you back into the storm you've outgrown. And that is when your training begins. Can you stay still even when your ego screams to defend itself? Can you remain kind even when the world is cruel? Can you remain clear even when others project their confusion onto you? This is the real spiritual work. Not incense, not mantras, not robes, but how you carry yourself in the face of misunderstanding. How you breathe when judgment stings. How you walk away from what no longer honors your growth, not with hatred, but with grace. One of the last things my master told me before he passed on was this: the highest form of power is gentle truth. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your vibration. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your peace is your permission. Your silence is your sermon. Your stillness is your shield. They may not like who you're becoming, but remember, you are not becoming for them. You are remembering who you always were before the world taught you to forget. So let them be angry. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. Because while they dwell in noise, you are mastering the silence, and one day, they too may find their way home. But until then, walk yours with humility and strength. There is something you must understand now, something we often overlook on this path of awakening. You were never lost. You were only layered with roles, expectations, wounds, and borrowed beliefs, layer after layer, covering the clarity that was always within you. And now, you are peeling back each one, not to become someone new, but to return to who you were before the world got its hands on you. This, my friend, is not a journey of addition, it is a journey of subtraction. When I first came to the monastery, I thought I would be taught what to do, what to say, how to live, how to pray, but my master did not give me answers. He gave me questions that stripped away everything I thought I was. He would say, don't seek to become spiritual. Seek to become empty enough so spirit can move through you. At first, I resisted. I thought wisdom meant knowing, but eventually, I saw wisdom is not about knowing more, it's about needing less. And perhaps now, you're beginning to feel that too. You're letting go of the need to be understood by everyone. You're no longer begging for permission to live your truth. You're watching old identities fall away, not with pain, but with a strange kind of peace. Because finally, you are not living to be seen, you are living to see. The most powerful people I've ever met are not loud, they do not boast, they do not need to convince anyone of anything. They walk quietly through the world, fully rooted in who they are, unafraid of being misunderstood. Because they are no longer playing a part, they are living a purpose, and that, dear one, is where your power lies. Not in your perfection, not in your performance, but in your presence. You are enough, not because you've achieved anything. You are enough because you are awake to the games, awake to the noise, awake to the inner world you once ignored. You no longer chase love. You embody it. You no longer chase approval. You trust yourself. You no longer chase outcomes. You honor the unfolding. Let me offer you a parable we reflect on in the monastery. There was a man who carried a heavy bundle of sticks on his back every day. He complained of his pain, his fatigue, his suffering. One day, a wise teacher asked him, "Why do you carry these sticks?" The man replied, "I don't know, I always have. My father did, his father did too." The teacher said, "Then maybe it's time to put them down and see who you are without them." We all carry sticks, habits, identities, wounds passed down by generations. And most of us carry them without question. But the awakened one begins to ask, who am I without this pain? Who am I without this armor? Who am I without their story written over my soul? And the answer is not a name, not a title, not even a role. The answer is silence, stillness, presence. That's why the monks spend years in meditation, not to escape the world, but to return to themselves. It is in silence that the soul speaks most clearly. And it is in stillness that your life begins to rearrange itself around what matters most. So now I ask you, are you willing to sit with yourself without distraction? Can you befriend the parts of you that are afraid? Can you hold space for your inner child without trying to fix them? Because true transformation doesn't come from force, it comes from allowing, from loving, from surrender. You've spent enough time trying to fit in, now it's time to belong to yourself, to your breath, to your truth. When you no longer need to prove, you become powerful. When you no longer seek to impress, you become peaceful. When you no longer resist what is, you become free, and that is what they fear most, not your anger, not your rebellion, but your freedom, because a free soul cannot be manipulated, a peaceful mind cannot be disturbed, and a person who truly knows who they are cannot be controlled. Let this be the chapter where you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Let this be the chapter where you give yourself permission to rise, not to dominate, but to radiate, not to argue, but to embody. There is no need to prove your truth. Just live it, and your presence will do the speaking for you. You've made it this far, and that means something, because the deeper you go into your own stillness, the louder the world becomes, trying to pull you back, trying to remind you of the version of yourself you've already buried. But you're not going backward. Now, you're walking with a different kind of awareness, one that no longer asks, why is this happening to me? But instead, what is this trying to teach me? And that shift, that sacred shift, is how your pain transforms into purpose. Let me tell you something personal. There was a time, even as a monk, when I carried a heavy sorrow, a grief I did not speak of. You see, before I took these robes, I lost someone I loved deeply. A soul who mirrored my own, kind, wild, wounded. When she passed, I was angry, not at the world, not even at the divine, but at myself for never saying what I truly felt while she was alive. I went into isolation for months. I didn't chant, I didn't speak. I simply sat with the ache, and do you know what I learned? Pain is not the enemy. It is the invitation. It brings you back to your breath, back to what matters, back to what's real. Pain is not there to punish you, it is there to purify you. It strips away the lies. It reveals what you truly value, and it humbles the ego that thought it had forever. You see, the soul does not grow in comfort. The soul grows in the fire of surrender, in the moments when there is nothing left to hold onto but truth itself. So if you're hurting right now, I want you to know that pain is not proof that you're broken. It is proof that you're becoming. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly through ease. It dissolves inside the cocoon. Its body becomes liquid before it reforms into wings. And maybe that's what's happening to you right now. Maybe your soul is melting down every false identity you've worn, so you can finally fly. Don't rush it, don't numb it, don't shame yourself for feeling it. Sit with it, hold it like a child who's been crying in the dark. And listen, every ache has a message, every scar is a teacher. Every wound you've carried is a doorway to a part of you that is wiser, deeper, more compassionate. You've heard it said, hurt people, yes, but healed people heal people. Awaken people awaken others. Those who have walked through fire become the light for those still burning, and maybe that's what you're here to be. Not a savior, not a saint, but a mirror. A mirror to show others that healing is possible, that peace is not the absence of struggle. It's the presence of clarity in the middle of it, that love is not a performance. It's a return to what's unbreakable within you. So allow the pain to teach you, but never let it define you. You are not your story. You are the spirit that survived it. You are not your wound. You are the wisdom it left behind. We often think awakening means becoming perfect, but true awakening means becoming real. Messy, open, authentic, present. And in that realness, others begin to find permission to be themselves too. You become a lighthouse, not by shouting instructions from the shore, but by standing tall in your truth and simply being light. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more quiet strength. It needs more people who are unshakably rooted in themselves. Not because life spared them from pain, but because they transformed that pain into power. So let this be your turning point, where you stop running from what hurt you and start learning from it. Where you stop seeing scars as shame and start seeing them as sacred markers of how far you've come. You didn't just survive, you woke up. And now, every breath you take with awareness, every choice you make with intention, every time you choose peace over panic, grace over ego, presence over distraction, you are rewriting your story in real time, and that, beloved soul, is your power. They may not understand your transformation, but they will feel your peace. They will see the difference in your presence, and one day they will ask, How did you find your way? And you'll simply smile. Because you'll remember this moment right here when everything began to shift. So here we are again, and I honor you for staying with me, not just here in this moment, but with yourself, in the truth, in the discomfort, in the quiet knowing that something deeper is awakening within you. Let's speak now of something many seek but few understand: alignment. You've heard the word before. Live in alignment, act in alignment. But what does it really mean? Alignment is not about doing what feels good in the moment. It's about doing what feels true in the soul. Even when it's difficult, even when it's misunderstood, even when it goes against the current of the world around you. You see, there is a rhythm to life, a divine current beneath the surface of your thoughts and plans. And when you are aligned, you no longer swim upstream. You no longer struggle to force your will. Instead, you begin to trust the deeper timing of your soul's unfolding. Let me tell you something that took me years to learn. There was a season in my life when I tried to earn my worth. Even as a monk, I thought maybe if I prayed harder, meditated longer, served more, I would finally deserve peace. But peace is not a reward. Peace is your natural state. It returns when you stop fighting your own truth. One day, I asked my teacher, "How do I know if I'm in alignment?" He smiled and handed me a stone. He said, "Drop this in the river." I did. The stone disappeared into the current without resistance. He then said, "Now drop your expectations, your ego, your timeline, and you will flow the same." That was when I realized alignment means surrendering the mind's schedule and honoring the soul's wisdom, because your soul is not in a hurry, it's eternal. It has already seen the destination, and its only concern is whether you're listening. So if something feels forced, pause. If a path feels heavy, reflect. If an opportunity sounds good but drains your spirit, let it pass. This is not laziness. This is discernment. The most aligned people are not the busiest, they are the most intentional. They don't say yes out of fear of missing out. They say yes from a place of clarity, knowing that what is meant for them cannot be missed. And neither can you. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not lost. You are being carved by every delay. You are being refined by every detour. You are being aligned by every no that didn't make sense at the time. Don't resent the wait. The waiting is working. In silence, the seed becomes a tree. You are becoming, but becoming is not loud. It is not glamorous. It is not always visible. Becoming is quiet, sacred, invisible work. The kind of work that aligns your actions with your values, your thoughts with your truth, your life with your light. And when you're in alignment, even the smallest things feel divine: a walk under the stars, a breath after a long cry, a moment of peace in the middle of uncertainty. You begin to realize it was never about becoming impressive. It was about becoming authentic. You don't have to chase your purpose. You simply have to remove what blocks your connection to it. It's already there, pulsing beneath the noise, beneath the trauma, beneath the timelines you thought you had to meet. So now, I offer you this. From this moment forward, ask not, "What should I do?" Ask instead, "What aligns with the deepest truth I carry inside?" Let your yes be sacred. Let your no be holy. Let your silence speak louder than empty action. Because when you are in alignment, you stop chasing, you start attracting. You stop fighting for attention. You begin living from intention. And that, dear one, is when the universe begins to rise to meet you. You have done much work already. Now let the path meet your steps. Keep listening, keep trusting. Keep choosing what is real over what is popular. Because that is the way of the awakened one, not to impress the world, but to embody the soul. You've come so far, and now there is one final truth we must sit with: the art of surrender. So many struggle with this word. They hear surrender and think it means weakness, giving up, failure. But let me offer you a new way to understand it. Surrender is not the death of power. It is the birth of trust. You see, control is an illusion. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold the pieces together, trying to plan, manage, predict, and force outcomes. But life is a wild river, and you were never meant to dam the current. You were meant to flow with it. Let me share a moment from my early days in the monastery. There was a great storm one year, torrential rain, wild winds, trees were uprooted, walls collapsed, and yet one young tree, barely 3 feet tall, stood untouched. I asked my master why. He said, "Because it bends, it does not resist the wind. It does not try to be stronger than the storm, it simply trusts the ground beneath it." That is surrender. Surrender does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you stop forcing what is not meant for you. You stop fighting the moment, and you begin to cooperate with life. Let go of the belief that your value lies in your ability to control outcomes. Your value is in your ability to stay present. Let go of the constant effort to fix what isn't broken. Sometimes what feels like chaos is actually a sacred reordering, a divine realignment in progress. But to see it, you must soften, you must release your grip. You must unclench your spirit and allow the river of life to carry you, even when you don't yet see where it's going. This is what surrender teaches, to move with the moment, not against it. To hold your desires gently, not desperately, to trust that the universe is not punishing you, it is positioning you. And I know, it's hard to let go, because you've been taught that if you're not in control, something bad will happen. But sometimes, when you let go, something beautiful happens instead, something unexpected. Something better than you imagined. Control closes the hand, surrender opens it. And with open hands, you can finally receive. So ask yourself, where am I gripping too tightly? What am I afraid to release? What if letting go is not loss, but liberation? You may think you're falling apart, but what if, in truth, you're falling into place? You may feel like everything is crumbling, but what if it's only the false parts of you breaking down so the real ones can breathe? This is the mystery of surrender. It requires faith. Not blind faith, but faith in something wiser than your ego, the same force that turns night into day, that blossoms the flower, that keeps your heart beating without you thinking about it. That same intelligence is guiding your life, and it knows where you're meant to go, even when you don't. You don't need to carry the burden of knowing everything. You just need to carry the courage to trust the next step. You don't need to control the outcome. You just need to be fully present in the unfolding. Surrender is an invitation to rest, not in giving up, but in giving in, to stop swimming against the current, and to finally float with grace. Let go, not because it's easy, but because holding on to what no longer serves you is far heavier than stepping into the unknown. Let go, because your soul is already whispering, there's something better waiting for you. But your hands must be empty to receive it, so breathe now, and repeat with me. Not just with your lips, but with your being. I surrender not to weakness, but to wisdom. I release what I cannot control, so I may walk in peace. Yes. That is the art of surrender. And when you live this way, when you trust the silence, when you release the outcome, when you let life be your teacher, you will find everything you were chasing, everything you were grasping for, was quietly walking toward you all along. Now that you've learned to surrender, you're ready for one of the most misunderstood truths on the spiritual path: divine timing. The modern world has taught us to move fast, to chase, to hustle, to want everything now: love, success, healing, clarity, peace. But the soul, it does not follow deadlines, it follows rhythm. And divine timing is the sacred unfolding of that rhythm. It's not about things happening when you want them to, it's about them happening when your spirit is truly ready. Sometimes you're asking for things your hands are not yet strong enough to hold. Sometimes you're praying for a life your nervous system hasn't healed enough to receive. Sometimes you're demanding a door to open, not knowing that what waits behind it would crush the version of you standing there now. So life in its mercy waits, not to punish, but to prepare. Let me share with you a story from my own journey. Years ago, before I was fully ordained, I found myself in deep yearning. I wanted answers, not just spiritual ones, but practical ones. What was my true role here? When would I feel ready? When would clarity arrive? I fasted, I prayed. I walked in solitude for days, seeking some thunderous revelation, but all I heard was silence, and in my frustration, I asked my teacher, why is nothing happening? He replied with only 3 words, it already is. I didn't understand at first, but with time I came to see, just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is moving. The roots grow before the tree blossoms, the healing happens before the relationship arrives. The lessons come before the blessing is revealed. We must learn to honor the invisible preparation. Divine timing isn't just about the right moment, it's about the right you in that moment. And here's what's beautiful: everything you think you've lost, every opportunity that passed you by, every delay you cursed, was never rejection, it was redirection. It was life gently saying, not yet, there's still some shaping to do. And when you trust that, something sacred happens inside you. You stop panicking in the pause. You stop doubting your worth in the delay. You begin to breathe with life instead of rushing against it. You develop what we call in the monastery sacred patience. Not passive waiting, not lifeless hoping, but active trust, knowing that what is meant for you cannot be taken, delayed, or denied. It will arrive. Not when your ego is desperate, but when your soul is ready to receive without clinging. So when it feels like nothing's happening, ask yourself, what is this moment teaching me? What part of me is still growing? What if the delay is my protection? Because sometimes the unanswered prayer is the greatest act of grace, and sometimes the waiting room is where your soul meets its deepest evolution. Breathe with me. The monk closes his eyes, and the screen fills with a slow inhale and a slow exhale. You don't have to figure it all out today. You don't need all the pieces. You don't need to prove your worth through urgency. You are worthy now. You are becoming now. And what is for you is already making its way to you, with no need to chase. So soften, allow, trust. Because when divine timing aligns with soul readiness, the doors open without force, the answers arrive without searching, and your life begins to move with grace instead of effort. And in that moment, you realize you were never waiting for the world to change, you were waiting for the alignment within. So hold steady, dear soul, keep doing your inner work. Keep loving your life as it is, not as you wish it to be. And know that everything meant for you is already in motion. You are not behind, you are right on time, and your time will come. The conclusion: if you've come with me this far, then you are not who you were when we began. You've peeled away layers, you've confronted illusions. You've heard the quiet echo of your soul speaking louder than the chaos of the world. So let me now bring it all together. Let me offer you the truth that so few are willing to say. When you begin to awaken, when you see through the illusions, when you feel the weight of unconscious systems, relationships, and old identities, they know that you know, and yes, they are pissed, not because you are wrong, but because your awareness threatens the control they built their comfort upon. You see, those still asleep, they depend on your silence. They need your agreement to maintain the illusion. But when you awaken, when you no longer play the game, when you stop chasing what no longer nourishes your soul, you become dangerous, not violently, but energetically. You begin to vibrate truth, you become a mirror. And people don't always like what they see in a mirror, especially when it reveals the parts of them still trapped in illusion, and so they may reject you, misunderstand you, mock your stillness, call your peace weakness, label your compassion foolish. But you must remember, this is not about you, it's about their fear, their discomfort with truth, their longing for freedom expressed through resistance, because your light exposes their shadows. So what do? You do not shrink, you do not argue, you do not prove, you live. You walk with the dignity of one who knows they no longer need to win every battle, because they've already won the inner war. You move through the world like water, gentle yet unstoppable, flexible yet unwavering. You speak less, but your silence says more. You fight less, but your presence brings change. You try less, and yet life begins to flow in alignment. This is mastery. Let me tell you something from the monastery. The true monk doesn't wear robes or chant loudly. The true monk is the one who carries stillness into the noise. So be that. Let your life be the lesson. Let your peace be the protest. Let your alignment be the revolution. And if the world resists it, so be it. You don't need everyone to understand you. You just need you to stay true to what you found. Hear this silence, this clarity, this freedom. And finally, hear this: you are not alone. Even when the path is narrow, even when they walk away, even when your growth creates distance, you are deeply, infinitely, divinely supported. Every step you take in truth is carried by the very force that gave birth to stars. So stand tall, or kneel in humility, or sit in stillness, but be unwavering inside. You now carry the seed of awakening. Protect it, nurture it, let it grow in silence. And as it grows, you'll see the world shift around you. Not because you forced it to, but because your very being became the change. You are the storm they didn't see coming, but you are also the calm after the storm. Walk on, awaken one, in stillness, in strength, in sacred truth. And if ever the noise returns, come back to this place, come back to this silence. And remember, they knew you were powerful before you did, and now that you know to walk wisely. Thank you for walking this journey with me. You are now ready to live, not as who the world told you to be, but as who you truly are.